Hi, everybody. This is Sage. The last time I talked about Demass Learning was in 2012, and it's 2020 now, 2020, the great year of 2020. And it hasn't been that I haven't thought about Demass Learning. It's just I haven't had a particularly opportune time to consider it. Since I made that last video in 2012 about Demass Learning, I've found myself deeply involved in the homeless epidemic in the United States, and that's where I have been spending the last several years. And what I can tell you is, as my life evolves and time marches on, as it will, it's interesting to see how all of these things come together. I think I was inspired to make this video because yesterday I did an interview of a homeless friend of mine. He's turning 30 this year, and he was in prison about 6 years ago, and he got his barber license in prison. And he recently went back to recover that, and they've got no record of it. It has disappeared. And so you could see in an otherwise very upbeat and optimistic human being, in spite of the fact that he lives homeless, that particular attack on him, the loss of his GED that he got in prison. He did prison the way people are supposed to do prison, was taken from him. And the depression or sadness of it was just fleeting, because his life is a series of those kinds of disappointments at the hands of a truly cruel system. And so I've been kind of thinking about Demass Learning. I've been doing some substitute teaching. I did some at the local public school, at an inner city public school. And then I did some teaching, or I've done one substitute session so far at the local Waldorf school. And I think a fair amount about Rudolf Steiner and his contribution to education. And Demass Learning is a little bit of an offshoot of that kind of thinking, I suppose. But truly, I think the inspiration is still maintains the fact that we live in a mass society. We are still the capitalist collective, where the individual takes one on the chin for the greater good at any given time, no matter what that good may be. And usually it is not good. It's usually just straight up oppression because they don't like you. And so I've had an opportunity in the last several years to really understand the homeless atrocity, human rights disaster of homelessness in the richest country the world has ever seen. There's only one reason for homelessness, and it's because they don't like homeless people. Namely, they actually don't like drug addicts, and they believe that all homeless people are drug addicts, and so they're not worth the time, and so they let them fester and die terrible deaths on the streets of, again, the richest country humanity's ever seen. And so the system fails the people that need it the most, time and time again. The system serves the people that really don't need it at all. You know, the middle class, which is a smaller and smaller group, but more specifically the wealthy. And I am not against the wealthy at all. You are a good person or a bad person regardless of the amount of money you have. And there are incredible wealthy people that do incredible things, and obviously there are some brutally terrible poor people. You know, it's like any kind of ism and stereotyping. You can't do it. You can't do it. And so But I will say that the system loves to heap rewards on the wealthy. The wealthier you are, the better the rewards in society today. And that is just opposite of what needs to. The wealthy don't need the help, but the people that need the help are berated and judged as being less than the rest of us, and so they're excluded from the help that they need. It's ironic. And so, but at any rate, it just comes back to this individualism, this demassification of learning that, I think largely our industrial era school system, which is, still how we teach. It was created in a time of the Industrial Revolution where people needed to learn how to be cogs in a machine, and we are still teaching cogs in a machine. But in the meantime, 4% of the global population, which is the United States, accounts for 25% of the global population of the prison system. And the school-to-prison pipeline is real. We use our money to just warehouse people we don't like because we don't care enough. We don't like them. We don't like them. And so we just we have 80 to 100,000 people in solitary confinement, thanks to the Quakers. And so it goes on, and so the fact is that the demassification, the Demass learning concept is more important than ever. The stock market today is sky high, and yet I talked to a young woman whose family is from Honduras, and she says that the poverty she sees on the streets of Akron, Ohio, not even in a significantly known area for poverty, the poverty she sees on the streets of Akron, Ohio resembles the poverty she sees in Honduras. Okay? Do I need to explain what's going on in countries like Honduras? How can that be? Well, it's simple when you realize that they don't like you. It really solves a lot of problems. They judge you and they don't want you. So they warehouse you and they ignore you because they don't like you. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm telling you the honest to God truth. And so at any point, if we don't fit into the system, then we are quickly categorized and cataloged, and in fact, it happens even in these private schools. I've seen it happen in the private schools in which I've been, that they catalog a kid as not being good, and everyone knows who it is. And then they are institutionalized and determined as being an outsider and incapable of learning. And in the meantime, they're some of the most interesting people in the school. That's the irony. The most interesting people in schools are typically the people that the schools hate the most. And so, again, you come back to this Demass learning concept that you cannot learn in a mass institution of learning because we are not the mass. We are individuals. The philosophy of personalism and individualism is so critical in these days because you are instantly categorized based on the color of your skin and the amount of income you have, or even the clothes you choose to wear. They will catalog you, the way you grow your hair. And so we are left to fend for ourselves, and Demass learning, I think, comes to the rescue on that. And what I want to know is, I want to point out in the October 15th, 2012 video that I did, I said that really it needs to be in-person learning. And I've evolved on that 8 years later. I still am for in-person learning, but you should know, in case this is being watched years ahead, we are living in the very tail end, hopefully, of the COVID-19 pandemic. Just today, in fact, December 14th, 2020, the first vaccination came out. for COVID, and so we're very hopeful that in the next several months we will be able to eradicate COVID, but I don't know at this point in time. But what I can tell you is in the last year or so, not quite, we have all been forced to learn online. And even though I consider myself a digital person, I've always been kind of hedging towards in-person over digital. But since this time, I am now a huge advocate of online learning, and the amount of free learning that is available to you from places like Yale and Harvard and Princeton and Columbia and MIT, and it just goes on and on and on. The greatest instructors on planet Earth are available to us for free. We, I think, need to be open-minded to the idea that education can indeed be learned online. And additionally, what I'm seeing with my 16-year-old son, Indiana, is how involved he is with online communities, currently using the technology Discord, which is a really powerful collaborative community-based tool. And so I do think now with the technology that's available, you can indeed create classes for yourself or with your friends that are watched online and then collaborated with in community-based tools like Discord or whatever is available to you at that in the future. Hopefully it's even better than Discord or Slack or whatever. Even Facebook has these kinds of tools, and on and on. And so I really wanted to make this video to re-emphasize that Demass Learning, I think, is more important than ever, and the tools available are more available than ever. And I do want to just make the point that while in-person is great, I just want to evolve on that point. I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think that you need to get hung up on the fact that if you don't have a great astrophysicist in your community, you shouldn't learn about physics and astrophysics from anybody other than Neil deGrasse Tyson on TikTok. Go to TikTok and learn about physics from Neil deGrasse Tyson, okay? Or go in depth and learn for hours about all of these incredible sciences on YouTube. And then discuss them. The key to learning is discussion, I do think. You must talk this through, potentially even write it through. I don't know how important writing will be in the future, honestly, but that's kind of another topic. I think we're living, obviously, in the heyday of video, and writing potentially could have just been a 500-year flash in the pan of hundreds of thousands of years of humanity. We'll see, right? We'll see. But at any rate, those are the points that I wanted to make, and also just to let you know that I haven't forgotten about Demass Learning. I just kind of got really steeped in the world of homelessness, and now they're kind of coming around. And maybe I'll do more on Demass Learning, but at any rate, that's that. All right. Have a good day.